Good morning. It is Friday morning and we are back in downtown Charleston. We had some fun. We took an Uber from North Charleston where we're staying into downtown, and it had rained overnight, and so it was flooded so bad, and I was like panicking because I'm such a chicken. I go through 2 inches of water. I think my car is gonna stall out. So this guy was going, like, it was up to like halfway up our doors, and we were in like a SUV. So it was crazy, but I was freaking out.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. Who needs a boat car? I can't believe we got here. Rainbow Row is actually right behind us,
yeah.
So we'll go across the street so we can get a better look of it before we start our walking tour.
Yeah, we have a walking tour scheduled for today.
Unless you want to do breakfast.
And then I think we're gonna try to maybe grab a quick bite too.
So this is the historical Rainbow Row. Hallie's getting some pictures. But it's a beautiful little area. So we stopped at One Broad Street for breakfast. Here is their menu. So it's really cool in here, but it's right across the street from where we're meeting. But as you can see, they just renovated this place, but my favorite thing is Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Okay, so our food arrived. I got their sourdough bread with ricotta and jam. And it looks like there's chives on it, so I'm interested what kind of jam it is. But I also got a nice coffee, and Robbie got a bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwich on a roll, and he's got some hot sauce. So we're gonna dig in because we got like 20 minutes before we have to meet.
Yeah, this place is awesome. So he's making the bread that's on here. So this is a little information about this place. So they completely rebuilt it. But this restaurant is awesome. Oh, there's more over here. It looks like a cool bar too, but everything's real fresh and homemade. It's really good breakfast, real reasonable prices. That sandwich was only $7. All right, so we just got done eating breakfast. It's right over there. So that used to be a bank.
The doors are so pretty, and then the crown molding inside of the bank building match the doors. It's beautiful.
We'll get a shot of that. So those are cars.
Okay, so the building itself won an award for rehabilitation, and that's really cool. But the restaurant inside is called One Broad Street, and it's a bakery, but it's also like a bar. Like, they're open all day, and the food is excellent.
Oh yeah.
And the service was great. It's very cute inside.
Should definitely check it out. But we're getting ready to start our walking tour, but Hallie pointed out this awesome cobble street. So you excited? Mm-hmm. She's got her walking shoes.
Yeah, it's squishy. I'm ready to go through some puddles.
And ever since the late 1680s, to be exact, this has been either a tavern or a liquor store. And that means this is the oldest standing liquor store in the United States. Rather dubious distinction. And originally, you only had this end building right here. Okay, it was just outside the wall. The wall would have been running right down through here, and the water coming up very close to this. Okay, and previous owner, who was from Connecticut, he'd done his research on this building. I asked him what happened in Prohibition, 1920s. He said, well, it became the most popular barber shop right here on this corner. So you had some very well groomed and I suppose very inebriated gentlemen. The liquor still flowing down through there. And the reason it was cut was to create retail businesses. These are retail shops. This is Walmart in the 18th century. Okay, so you're going shopping at Walmart 18th century, and there's not a lot of shopping to do down through here today. There's two of those fires I mentioned swept right down through here. One in 1740, one in 1778. That was the worst one. And the supplies for these retail shops were coming out of these buildings largely over here that are these lovely pastel buildings that we call Rainbow Row. Now, something about Rainbow Row. They were not painted this way until the 20th century. Now, there are all kinds of crazy stories about them being painted that way, so illiterate slaves who were sent down here to shop, which didn't happen, okay? But they would know what, because they couldn't read, they'd know what materials were in which building by the color of the building. Also, that drunken sailors, all right, were lodging in some of these buildings, and some of those guys were illiterate, and they would know where they were staying by the color of the building. That's malarkey. It didn't start until the 20th century. Right? And it really started when Susan Pringle Frost, around 1920, learned that 6 of those row houses down through there were going to be demolished so a gas station and a grocery store could go in. And she said, I don't think so. And she bought 6, all 6 of them, and she couldn't restore all 6, but the fact that she made that initial move stopped Standard Oil from coming in and tearing down those 6 row houses and putting in a gas station and a grocery store. Right?
All right, guys, we have to cross our fingers because there's a very ominous dark cloud coming, but this tour is awesome.
Stood here vacant for years, starting to, fall in disrepair. And one of the neighbors there across the street, a Mr. Chisholm, in the late 1930s, he bought those 4 row houses we just walked by that were businesses and residences. And he was restoring them, and he realized that this old building here, he said, that old building's an eyesore. And I've learned since I've lived here 6.5 years that if Charlestonians don't like something, they usually buy it. And that's what Mr. Chisholm did. He bought this old abandoned building and ripped the roof off of it and created the most scenic parking lot in town. And in 2005, this live oak tree was resting on the wall right there, and the brick was starting to buckle. Had that been my hometown, they would have sawed that tree down. That's been their solution. This is a lovely live oak tree, and today it's even supported with cables up there. I don't know if you can see them, but silhouetted against the sky, you can see them. And that shows you how much we will save that tree. Okay? On a good day, which is rare anymore, when there's no traffic on the street, you can see both of our rivers.
Wow.
Yeah, you can see the Ashley, it's a mile west, and the Cooper down through there, or Cooper. This is an east-west street named Longitude Lane. Welcome to Charleston. I don't know, we don't pronounce anything right, we name things strangely. And for the first time in history, you could actually measure longitude on the high seas. And we were so excited here in Charleston, we named this old little, what was called Neighborhood Alley, we named it Longitude Lane. And so it ought to be Harrison Lane, but I've not been here long enough to fight that. It's a city street. Whenever you see a city sign like that, it means you can walk down it. It's public. In the Civil War, in 1862, a slave named Robert Smalls, he was a ship's pilot here in the harbor, and he was 23 years old, short little guy, but still a slave. And he got the reputation of being the best pilot in the harbor because he knew where all the shallow sandbars were, and he knew where the underwater mines were, the bombs the ships would hit. He also had a copy of the Confederate Code that they used to communicate with, because he was planning his escape from slavery. And he had his wife and kids here in town. He had them hide in a boat just a little further up the Cooper River. And at 2 in the morning on May 13th, 1862, he fired up his boat, the Planter, went upstream, picked up his wife and kids, had 15 other slaves on the boat, plus a bunch of equipment that he was supposed to have been dropping off at these forts around the harbor. But he picked up his wife in and out of the harbor, and he put on, there's supposed to be 3 white officers, but they got to where they started going home at night because they trusted him. Not good. And every time he passed a Confederate fort, he knew how many times to pull on the whistle as a code to let him by. He also put on the hat and coat of the Confederate officer that was supposed to be on the boat with him. And from a distance, he looked like the real officer. And then nobody fired a shot at him took his family right out of the harbor. They did fire a couple shots in Fort Sumter, but they waited. They weren't sure, you know, what this was, and they thought, "Uh-oh, he's still in the boat." And the Union Navy was 5 miles out there in a blockade, and that was his objective. And he got that boat up to the USS Onward, part of the blockading squadron. And the officer on the Onward said, "I jumped down on the deck of the planter, and this real short African-American fellow walked up to me, saluted me, and said, 'Sir, my name is Robert Smalls, and I do believe Uncle Abraham Lincoln can use the cannons I have on this boat.'" He had all kinds of materials on that boat. It was a gold mine. And they said, "Sure!" And they took him, and he got his freedom. And he was taken to Washington, where he met Lincoln, and they talked for hours about enlisting ex-slaves in the Union Army. And Congress gave him $1,500 for the planter. That wasn't even his boat in the first place. He gratefully took the money, went back to Beaufort, his hometown, which was under Union control early in the war, and bought the house he grew up in as a slave at a public auction. Talk about the world turning upside down.
The tour of alleys. This is the narrowest alley in Charleston, and I feel like I'm Luke Skywalker in the trenches of the Death Star. Stay on target. It's too close. I gotta pull up. Stay on target. Ah, I can get it. Ah.
So this is Frank Abagnale's house of Catch Me If You Can fame, which is one of Robbie's favorite movies. So he lived there until 2005.
And my favorite Bill Murray story is
Gotta love Bill Murray.
we went into a bar up on King Street. A lady was sitting alone at the end of the bar, and he walked in totally unnoticed, grabbed her beer, and drank all of her beer, took an empty bottle up front and looked there and said, "Lady, nobody's ever going to believe you." And he turned around and ran out of the bar. After sitting there with an empty bottle. Didn't offer to buy her another beer. I'm just telling you this because he's in town, stuff could happen. Down Bill Murray alert.
So I didn't catch the first part of that, but what he was saying was he had a private tour of women, and one of them was pregnant, and some guys came down on a bicycle when they were on the street, and one of them stopped and talked to the women, and the pregnant woman, and she ran back up with the group and said, "That was Bill Murray. He was wearing a lampshade and asked me to go on a tour with him instead." But apparently he's pretty mischievous.
Brought it to keep goats out of the house. You won't cross water. If you don't live on water, pick something that blue to keep the haints out of your house. But what people realize is that when you put that paint up there, they never have wasp nests up there. They never have spider webs and leftovers. Local colony of things they build. And the prevailing theory is that blue resembles the sky. And the wasp won't try to build a nest out of the sky. And now it's become trendy.
So this is what he's talking about, this paint up on the piazzas. It's a robin's egg blue paint, and it's meant to keep out ghosts. It is part of the Gullah culture lore that they won't be around that. I super strongly recommend this tour. This has been fantastic and full of information that we would not have otherwise known. Ooh, look at these earthquake bolts. They're like in between two houses.
That steeple was the major target of Union cannon during the Civil War. The church was finally hit numerous times. They repaired all the damage. They left one scar at the base of the pulpit. Just a reminder. I mean, another cool thing, if you go in there, remember that's free, first of all, and there's no guide. All right. The stained glass was all done by Louis Tiffany in the early 1900s because of the earthquake damage that building. So that's worth a visit. We're not going up to it, we're going almost to it and cut into another alley. This next little alley is stunning, I think.
Alright, I want to leave you guys on. I'm holding my phone near my chin because I want to get some pictures too. But I'm going to take you down this little stretch here. Look at those little finials there on that building. Those are beautiful. So we're walking here. We're walking here just like Marty McFly.
Every port of the city had rope works. Because all those sails and the rigging, you're always repairing rope or making new rope. This was our rope work right here, where they would weave the strands of rope. Okay? So, and we call it Rope Maker's Lane. And of course, today it's all purely residential.
Check that out. Holy cow. That is a gigantic home. So this was a doctor's home, and then that was his laboratory back there to mix his medicines. But it's recently been renovated, and it's gargantuan. Wow. So another fun fact about these single houses, so this giant McMansion, well, not a McMansion, an actual mansion, is a single house. So part of the reason for this is because of the taxes. So your house was taxed on how much of the street front it took. So this is actually the side of the house. And look at those beautiful curved glass windows. This is the side of the house, and the front of the house is actually down the alley there. But look at all this plaster work. Not sure if that's wood or plaster, but incredible stuff.
Well, early in the movie, he drops his kids off at Aunt Charlotte's. That's Aunt Charlotte's house. And even in the movie, it had a Hank blue ceiling on it. I just noticed that the first time I looked at it again. And then they opened the lower piazza door there. King George III. We burn him in effigy right here. Celebrate out in the street. They did a really good job taking out everything new. They even put in real candles instead of light bulbs. Put sand all over the street. And the only thing the city would not allow them to do, the movie people, was to cover up fire hydrants. So you have some fire hookups right here sticking out on the other side. And so they had women in big skirts standing right in front of them every time they filmed toward a fire hookup. But we burned King George right here.
Wow. It's from the movie The Patriot.
I haven't said oldest English or something like that in a while, so that's the oldest continuously functioning colonial tower clock in the United States right there. It's been functioning since 1764. And what a picture. Looks like the steeple's coming up out of the trees. And I thought it's funny. He being a doctor of divinity started telling us a ghost story. First of all, Rhett has invited us in. That's where Margaret Mitchell got the name Rhett Butler. It's from the Rhetts here. And Butler was Pierce Butler, who helped a South Carolinian, helped write the Constitution. But anyway, he said when he and his wife bought this house, the previous owner said that you'll hear noises on the staircase at night. A former governor died from a wound he received in a duel upstairs. And it was for years and years. It's Governor Wilson walking up and down the steps, you know. He being a minister, he just poo-pooed it, so we moved right in. He said, sure enough, I started hearing noises at night on the staircase. I said, did you ever get up and go investigate? And he looked at me like I was crazy. He said, heavens, no. We were way too afraid. I said, you keep using past tense. When's the last time you heard him? And he said, well, now that's been a while because we remodeled, repainted upstairs. And one night the door to the carport slammed very hard. And apparently he did not like that new arrangement up there because that was, he's not been back since the door slammed.
I think we're going to head up this way. We just finished the tour from Low Country Tours with Bill Stanton. And we did the passages and alleyways and passages, something along those lines of Charleston. It was fantastic, so much fun information.
Okay.
Saw a ton of Simmons Gates. We are headed now to the church over here to maybe like go inside and check things out a little bit, and then the penitentiary, jail, whatever it is, and check that out too. Excuse my very humid hair and face. It rained on us for most of the tour. We brought umbrellas to walk. It's a very humid, overcast day, so it's continuing to rain, but you know, it's keeping the temperature down, so I'm not going to complain about it at all. Here's some more wrought iron gates, and check out these trees in here. These trees are hundreds of years old. So Washington Monument was built by someone from Charleston. I forget their name. Anyways, so he proposed that the obelisk, which is an Egyptian structure, and you know, all that stuff. Yeah, there's one like right there. but what is that called? The Masons? They're like into like Egyptian stuff. But anyway, so they built the obelisk. He proposed at the base of the obelisk that there be 15 statues of each of the 15 founding fathers. I don't know which ones. At the base, and then that structure where they were would be under a roof, and then on top of the roof would be George Washington in a toga driving a chariot of horses. So the federal government told him, nope, that's too much money, you're getting your obelisk and that's it.
But isn't there a statue very similar to that in the Smithsonian?
There is a statue of George Washington wearing a toga sitting on a throne.
Yeah.
In the Smithsonian. So. But he's not driving a chariot.
No.
I think that was the part they couldn't deal with. They were fine with him in a toga.
Yeah.
They just couldn't deal with him riding a chariot or driving a chariot.
But this church over here that we're going to go look at, George Washington attended.
Yeah.
It was shelled several times during the Civil War.
Yeah, because the Confederate soldiers would be up in the steeples of churches around here, flagging and also shooting. So the Union Army took it as targets so that they could try to down their communications. So it was kind of like hacking for the 19th century.
But he said that it took them forever. Like, there was a lot of collateral damage around the area because they couldn't hit it, but we finally hit it once. And I think he said it was like 15, or no, it wasn't 15 years. I forget how long into it he said it was. But it was a really long time, but once they hit it, they had the coordinates, so they kept shooting over and over and just shelled it down. So this isn't the original
You guys are
church.
getting hit by raindrops. Whoops, sorry. But they also painted it black, so it's white. The whole church is white right now, but during the war they had painted it black to make it harder to see. But on a nice sunny day, you could make it out really easily.
And then right next door to it is the jail, which is the most haunted building in Charleston. We were told on our horse tour yesterday, but we heard a lot of conflicting information on the horse tour that we heard today, but I believe the historian.
Yeah, the guy that did our tour, I think his name is Bill Stanton, did a fantastic job. He was a history teacher, and now
Tennessee.
He is in Charleston doing walking tours, and he is fantastic. Like, I would take the tour a second time probably, because I probably missed a ton of information because I was off running around taking pictures of wrought iron objects.
And I took a lot of pictures too, so I'm not sure how we're going to put it in.
Maybe we do like a Flickr album and we'll link to it.
Yeah, because there
Would you guys be interested in seeing that?
Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is one of the most beautiful cities you'll ever see in the United States.
It is very cool because they have put such a focus and emphasis on preservation ever since the early 20th century. So we're both from an area where there was a lot of historical prevalence, Civil War stuff, but even is on the Ohio River. So there was a ton of money from people making money off of transporting goods on the Ohio River. So there are a lot of historical homes, and some of them have been well taken care of. Ooh, raindrop. Others haven't, and they've torn a lot of stuff down. Sometimes, like, even I know a big scandal in our hometown was the place called the Chancellor Hotel, which the mayor in the 70s tore down in the middle of the night without telling anybody, and they paved it to make a parking lot. So nothing like that in Charleston. Everything has to be approved by councils and associations, and it's all thanks to the woman that he mentioned that was the first real estate agent. Yes, Frost.
Yeah.
So it's not a chip flavor, but that's her name.
But if it was, I bet it would taste like wintergreen.
Ew, I was thinking like frosting.
Oh, ew.
Like a dessert Pringle.
Both would be bad Pringles.
Yeah. I think we're hungry.
Yeah. Let's go explore, and we'll take you along.
Yeah, I think we're gonna try to grab a drink somewhere too. So we'll keep you updated on what we're up to today. We're just now we've done everything that we planned to do, so now we're just gonna kind of walk around and check out some things. Yeah, and Robbie's parents will be here this evening, and we have dinner reservations at Hank's Seafood Restaurant, which is one of the best seafood restaurants in all of Charleston, so I'm really looking forward to that experience.
So one of my favorite things about Charleston are all the unique buildings, so I'm gonna show you a few of my favorites. So that is the penitentiary right there. It's the most haunted building in Charleston. And then this is the church that George Washington attended when he visited Charleston. And then there's this guy. I don't know what it is, but I like its stairs. But just something about the palm trees definitely has a cool feel. All right, so there's Hallie. We can't get in the church, it's locked. But I wanted to show you, we're gonna take a perspective view of the graveyard here at the church. And then here's another stepping stone for your carriage. But it says Museum of Postal History, so my information might not be correct. On our carriage ride, they pointed to the top of the structure and said that this was their penitentiary. I guess I can go over and check that sign. But it says Museum of Postal History, not the penitentiary, so we'll take. So I was correct. This is the courthouse. This is where they hung all those people. So this building is supposedly the most haunted building in all of Charleston. And then here's another look at the steeple of Washington's church. I can't believe this was painted black at one time. But I think this isn't even the church that was painted black, because I think it was destroyed in the fire.